In April, I lost my job at a Chicago construction company after years of running all over the city, delivering tools and equipment, paperwork, checks, you name it. Countless trips to job sites, different city halls around Northeast Illinois, an ungodly amount of Home Depot runs. Man. 3 months later, my wife and I are living with her mom, and I went from a dedicated workspace in our apartment in a Chicago suburb to a corner of our bedroom in my home state of Indiana. It was a tough transition, but it pushed me to get back to creating. Limitations can fuel creativity, and today, I'm turning that challenge into art. In a nod to my past, I guess, I'm headed to Home Depot to grab some materials for 2 drawstring bags, one from canvas drop cloth, the other from scraps from old projects. I've been interested in working with drop cloth for some time now, so let's see what we can make out of a less than ideal circumstance. I'll be following yet modifying a tutorial I found on YouTube published by Sailrite. I'll link it in the description. In the tutorial, the guy mentioned making 3" by 3" fabric tabs for the shoulder straps, but later said they probably could have been made bigger. So I'm going to show you how I create my sewing patterns using cardboard. I prefer it over paper because it's solid, reusable, and it's easier to work with. Now, some of the patchwork was already done from a previous failed project, but I didn't have nearly enough here, so I'm just showing how I do patchwork. Here is where one of the patchwork pieces will go. And here's where the other patchwork piece will go, here on the left. This white bag here is actually the first bag I made from this pattern. I didn't modify it though. Here I'm tracing the 16-inch by 5-inch piece from the pattern. The original bag only calls for one cutout, but of course we're changing the pattern here, so I'm gonna use two. I didn't use cardboard templates for this part since I improvised here. I'm working on the outermost part of the bag, the first thing you will see. This is the only part where I'm going off script with the design, adding pockets and webbing because I love incorporating those into bags, honestly. I just like being able to hang things off of the webbing, et cetera, et cetera. While we're ironing, remember when I mentioned cutting out those two 16 by 5 patchwork pieces? Well, I cut out two 16 by 5 pieces of the cream drop cloth as well. However, they're being used differently. For the white bag, I'm going to make little pouches to slip accessories in, like pens, pencils, etc. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So for me, when it comes to top stitching, I prefer using a zipper presser foot and just eyeball it. The seam clearance will typically be around 2 millimeters if you were to measure it. I just like when the top stitch is like really close to the edge. It's been a minute, and now we're working on the small pouches I mentioned earlier. In hindsight, I probably should have made the interior about 7 inches wide. After hemming and accounting for the seam allowance, a 2024 phone is too tall for this pocket. But that's okay. Keeping your phone in an outer pocket probably isn't the best idea anyway, so whatever. The original pattern calls for a 16 by 13 piece of fabric. So here I'm trimming my customized outer zipper pocket panel to 16 by 13 inches using one of my cardboard templates. Rectangle cutout for all the pocket. I should have sewn the black bag at this point, but I forgot. This would have kept the lining clean and stitchless. Unfortunately, this led to a bigger mistake, which you will soon see. I ended up making a cardboard template anyway. It just makes life easier. I ended up having more material than I needed. I forgot this panel was only 12.5 or 13.5 inches where I'd be attaching the patchwork. No harm, no foul. At least we got this to play with. I use this for something else. Okay, so you can see here how that lining is going to cover up those stitches nicely. Here we have a number 5 zipper with extra material on either side, and it's being sewn on face down.
But now I'm like, well, I'm not working, so.
Right there for that. I thought that cutoff was too nice to not use, so I used it to fill some negative space. I think it does a decent job of balancing all the colors. Instead of trying to rely on a perfectly drafted pattern, the tutorial has you simply trace and cut out what you've sewn together at this point. When sewing, it's hard to get everything completely perfect and square at every turn, so I thought this was a clever move. I'll sew around the borders here, which will make this basically a large zipper pouch type of situation. This is what I mentioned earlier. I sometimes get too eager and make mistakes that force me to backtrack, but I fixed it off camera and now we're good to go. The backside of the bag is created the same way the outer pocket was sealed off. I simply traced the entire front panel into another piece of fabric and of course cut it and sewed it together. I also ensured the outsides were facing each other while clipping them together. I reverse stitched when I got to the tabs for extra security, so there's a total of 3 passes of stitching at the tabs.
This one says, this is the opposite. This says, fighting man gets 60 years for Gary murder.
It's important to note that I did not sew around the entire perimeter of the bag like I did for the outer pocket. So to save material, but also add interest, I did one side of the lining in red, ripstop nylon, and the other side is in the fabric of the respective bag. So the black bag's lining is red and black. The white bag is red and white. Here, I'm making marks 6 inches apart to tell me where to stop sewing. I'm leaving a gap so I'll be able to flip the bag right side out, right side in. I don't know how to say that word or that term, but you'll see. Here I'm taking the drawstring sleeves we hemmed earlier and I'm just clipping them to the edge of the opening of the bag. So the way this bag comes together is kind of cool to me. I'm going to be sewing the drawstring sleeve and lining into the bag simultaneously. I cut this cardboard piece out to describe a 3/4 inch seam tolerance line to trace. I just needed something I was comfortable with. I kept trying to exceed my skill level.
These viral candy bars.
Sounds like a candy bar that didn't get you sick.
That's another thing I was gonna say. I'm not a chocolate. Like I need it like filled and like really thick chocolate bar.
No, I just meant from the literal term viral was like a virus. I don't know why I sat here and fumbled with this cord like this when I know there's a better way. By the way, I ended up not using the colored nylon cordage I bought from Home Depot. It was just too thin for the weight of these bags. I will for sure use them for a future project though. At some point of this project, my rotary cutter got a hold of this bag. I really don't know how, but the cut was too clean for it to be anything I own. So I decided to basically make a patch and glue it on. I didn't sew it because I didn't want to put even more stitches through it because I just thought it would look a little clumsy. Here I'm using Gorilla Glue for fabric. I didn't love the orientation of this patch, but I was panicking. I tested the glue, and it seems like the longer you wait to apply the fabric, the less effective the glue is, but it turned out fine. Not gonna front, these are definitely my wife's books. So if you made it this far, I definitely appreciate it. I realize this is a long video just to be making a couple of drawstring bags, but I do think the little details are fun to share.